9 American tourists in a miracle escape as a plane crashes on a barrier reef island.
A grandmother dies after being badly burned in a house fire. Now her son's charged with murder.
A Botany man living in fear after finding a fake bomb on his car bonnet.
Breaking news, residents evacuated as floodwaters enter towns.
Who's in the right? Angry tradies target a woman they claim wouldn't pay.
Sam Kerr's Olympic dream hanging by a thread. Her father confirms the worst.
And Aussies shine bright, our new Golden Girls star at the Golden Globes.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Michael Usher and Angela Cox.
Good evening. A plane crash on one of Australia's top tourist islands has seen a miraculous escape by the pilot and his 9 passengers.
The large twin-engine Cessna lost power on emergency approach to Lizard Island on the Barrier Reef, overshot the runway and then flipped upside down.
On its roof, off the runway, a light plane carrying holidaymakers leaving luxury and almost arriving at tragedy, the trauma of their ordeal written on their faces.
How are you feeling, sir?
Fine, alive and well. Very lucky, very lucky.
It's virtually miraculous that the people would be able to be extracted from that aircraft and not have some sort of fatalities involved.
The light aircraft took off from Lizard Island on the Great Barrier Reef, but its engine failed during the climb. The pilot attempted to return to the airstrip, but during the approach crashed into trees and terrain 100 metres south of the runway.
Sometimes those runways might be a bit shorter than normal or a bit narrower than normal.
9 American tourists, including a 14-year-old girl and the local pilot, managed to escape the wreckage.
To walk away for something like that is just incredible.
But soon they were back in the sky, airlifted around 250 kilometres to Cairns by the Royal Flying Doctor and 2 rescue helicopters. One man had a fractured arm, another a head injury.
Otherwise, most are shaken but okay.
We're feeling okay.
Yeah, all good?
Yes, thank you.
Lizard Island has been an exclusive destination for movie stars and celebrities, but tonight the ritzy A-list hideaway is in an unwanted spotlight. Garth Burley, 7 News.
Neighbours have desperately tried to save a woman after she was allegedly doused in petrol and set alight by her own son in the state's south. They pulled Narelle Doble from her burning home, putting her in a bath in the backyard to try to ease her pain. But the 65-year-old died early this morning.
She raised funds for cancer research, collected antiques and adored her large family. But Narelle Doble's own son allegedly wanted to kill her, accused of pouring petrol over the 65-year-old yesterday afternoon, then setting her and her Bribri home on fire.
It was horrible, really. Like the poor thing.
Locals spotted smoke and raced towards the property, trying their best to save Narelle's life.
We helped her in a bathtub, like cooling her with water and shading her from the sun because it was like so painful for her.
Her young granddaughter witnessed it all. She was also injured.
She got a few slight burns, but she was okay, really. Yeah, she just wanted her grandmother.
Hours later, 42-year-old Shannon Doble handed himself into Parkes Police Station. He's now charged with murder and several arson offences. 7 News understands Narelle expressed concern for her son's mental health just a few days ago, telling friends she was also concerned about her own safety. Locals who raced to help the 65-year-old yesterday claim she was incredibly strong and fought hard, repeating the words, "I don't know why."
She was so strong to try and survive, but there was no chance of it, really.
Suffering burns to 90% of her body, the 65-year-old died in Sydney's Royal North Shore Hospital early this morning.
It's a personal tragedy and also it's a community tragedy. Everybody is in a bit of shock to think that such a tragedy could occur.
Shannon Doble didn't apply for bail when he faced a magistrate here in Young late this afternoon. He'll be kept behind bars until his next court date in March. Meanwhile, the community in Bribri is planning a gathering tonight to offer support to locals who tried so desperately to save the 65-year-old. Michael?
Annie Puller in Young, thank you.
A Sydney man has told 7 News of his horror at finding what appeared to be a bomb attached to his car outside his Botany home. It was designed to scare him into taking down pro-Palestinian flags and messages, but the victim says he won't be intimidated.
I scare of my life.
Theo discovering on the bonnet of his ute this, a petrol container stuffed with a rag, a lighter and bolts taped to it. Ringing 000.
They seemed to think it was serious enough to bring the bomb squad.
On it, a note saying, "Take down flag, one chance." Theo has been flying a Palestinian flag on his ute and in his front yard since mid-November, along with a message chalkboard on which he's also put his number.
Had one negative text message and one negative interaction with someone on the street and hundreds of positive ones.
Nothing like this.
I think it's a pretty clear display of cowardice.
Police weren't taking any chances, sending a specialist team. Officers from the rescue and bomb squad attended and deemed the item safe. It was not active, but just the idea of a container of fuel leaving locals jittery.
It's just, makes you think. What if somebody is silly or crazy enough to do something?
Detectives are now investigating just who was behind this threat that has left neighbours nervous and Theo determined.
Someone left a bomb in our yard. What can I say? We are scared.
But the flags are staying.
My partner and I are not interested in bowing down to terrorism. That's what it is. This is an attempt to terrorise us.
Paul Caddack, 7 News.
ACT Police have slammed those involved in antisocial behaviour seen at this year's Summer Nats Festival, where a number of fights were posted online, including punches thrown by security at the event.
The footage that we saw was quite disturbing, but I would say that there's many different angles to the footage and the incident that occurred.
Organisers of the festival have launched their own investigation. Wages have grown by 4% in a year, the fastest pace since 2009, but still not as fast as inflation.
The cost of living challenge has economists divided on when interest rates will start coming down.
They're some of the lowest paid professions nationwide: kitchen hands, cleaners, supermarket staff. But it's these hardworking Australians who have seen the biggest jump in their wages, up 6.7% last year.
We want people who work hard to be able to provide for their loved ones.
Overall, a 4% wage increase.
Wages are growing at their fastest pace in 15 years.
But as cost of living pressures rise with persistent inflation and global unrest, disposable incomes remain low.
We've got 4 kids and 2 mortgages. It's been really, really tough with the interest rates going up.
Every time you go shopping, it's gone up.
After 13 consecutive rate rises,
it's not enough to have rising wages. Wages have got to rise faster than prices.
This year, economists are divided over when rates will fall, the cash rate sitting at 4.35%.
We're expecting one more interest rate hike in February.
ANZ research predicts that there are no more rate hikes from the Reserve Bank.
At least by the June meeting, we think the Reserve Bank will be in a position to start cutting interest rates.
On Wednesday, the latest inflation data will be released. The monthly figures are notoriously volatile, but the government is confident overall it's trending in the right direction. A dip below 4.9% will be a welcome sign for family budgets.
Yeah, more food.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
Police say they've cracked the criminal gang attempting to export more than $1 million worth of Australian reptiles to China. So far, they've seized more than 250 lizards, snakes and their eggs, a smuggling operation described as cold-blooded and cruel.
Crammed into lunch containers, storage tubs, some tightly guarding their young. Police say these reptiles were bound for Hong Kong's black market.
This is a cold-blooded and cruel crime during which at least 257 native lizards were kept in poor conditions.
Authorities first found them in the post back in September. Strikeforce Raptors swooped, arresting 4 members of an alleged smuggling syndicate.
Going out into remote areas of Australia, Northern Territory, Western Australia, he would go out there regularly and trap and bring them back.
At Pendle Hill, police discovered 16 lizards and eggs plus another 60 in storage. At East Hills, they found 118 lizards, 3 snakes, 8 eggs and 25 dead lizards. And at Grenfell, 4 more lizards.
Different brands of chip packets, different cylinders packed into handbags, disguised around cereal containers.
At $5,000 each, detectives say the smugglers stood to make around $1.2 million. After being examined by vets, most of the animals have now been released back into the wild. Some remain in the care of experts for further treatment. 25 died after being rescued.
A lot of them would have gone through dehydration and starvation. They wouldn't have been fed and obviously no water. It's a death sentence for a lot of those lizards.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Frantic diplomatic efforts are being made to avoid an expanded Middle East war as the violence in Gaza spills over. The UN is calling for the few hospitals still operating to be protected.
The staff inside of this hospital are heroes who are doing everything they can without sleep, without food, without knowing if their own families are safe.
Israel says it's dismantled Hamas's infrastructure in northern Gaza, but maintains the job isn't done. We are being warned of major disruptions on a key Sydney train line as fears grow there won't be enough drivers for replacement buses. Unions say closing the Bankstown line for construction of the metro has to be delayed as passengers mount their own protest.
At Bankstown train station,
the bus will be here soon.
Replacement buses line up, the solution the government's banking on, and a sample of what's to come.
Very problematic, very inconvenient.
Part of the line closed until Australia Day as work begins to convert the heavy rail line to metro. Bus drivers pulled from all corners of Sydney in a shortage.
It's the same pool of people. That's the problem.
We are about 250 bus drivers short across the Sydney metropolitan area.
Fewer than last year, but the busy Bankstown line is about to shut for up to 12 months. Soon, sometime between July and October, 11 stations will be affected, buses replacing trains. Extra services planned from Bankstown via Lidcombe.
It will be disruptive. It is a significant change to the network.
Unions argue there simply won't be enough drivers for the 1,400 replacement services needed.
There should absolutely be a postponement of at least 12 months while the labour market sorts itself out.
Bus drivers here have told 7 News most passengers on replacement buses are not tapping on. Drivers deciding to say nothing in solidarity. A quiet protest starting across Sydney.
The union's advice would be you do not challenge for fares.
As tensions with the government gear up. Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
A major flooding event is unfolding in Victoria tonight, with the state's central region bearing the brunt of heavy rainfall. Several towns are preparing to evacuate as water levels continue to rise, putting lives at risk.
In central Victoria, water as far as the eye can see. Paddocks now floodplains, entire communities cut off. This is Goornong near Bendigo. Residents wading through streets, sheep scrambling to higher ground. Backyards in Huntly underwater. Roads now canals. In Rochester, floodwaters edging close to that of 2022. Tonight, residents there are preparing their homes.
By mid-morning on Tuesday, that the Rochester Township will reach 114.8 metres.
While in Seymour, most are hitting the road, not risking a repeat.
This house did go under then. We just thought it's just best to get out.
Heathcote, the hardest hit, 184 millimetres of rain falling in just 24 hours. Records also broken in Bendigo.
92 millimetres, a lot of that actually fell in just a couple of hours.
Across the state, there has been over 1,200 calls for help, 38 flood rescues.
It's people taking their lives in their own hands and attempting to drive through flash flood waters.
Melbourne copped it too, the wet weather creating dangerous driving conditions.
The water's pretty much up to the seats. Can't open the door and get out.
And it's not just Victoria. Parts of New South Wales have also been drenched. Broken Hill breaking a 63-year-old record, almost half its yearly rainfall in just one weekend. Tonight, from emergency services, a desperate plea.
Do not attempt to drive through floodwaters. It could be the last decision you make.
Heather Richardson, 7 News.
Performing the Nazi salute and publicly displaying hate symbols like the swastika have now been outlawed. New counter-terrorism laws in effect from today mean those acts are now punishable by up to 12 months in prison. The trade of flags, clothing and other Nazi memorabilia is illegal as well. The same rules also apply to the public display of symbols linked to terrorist organisations. Well, for all Sam Kerr means to her sport and Australia, this new twist of fate is so cruel.
The Matildas captain suffered a serious knee injury during her club's training camp. Sam's dad admits it will ruin her dream of Olympic gold this year.
Sam Kerr, typically front and centre at Chelsea's Moroccan training camp.
First day in Morocco. Good. Sun's out, guns out.
Until the awful news was out.
Some breaking news now. Massive blow for defending WSL champions and current league leaders Chelsea.
Sports, 3 dreaded letters, ACL.
Apparently she was just running and the ACL just went on her. It was pretty disappointing, upsetting, so we had a couple of restless nights. But yeah, look, she'll go for the op and get her ACL done. I assume it'll be 12 months.
The Paris Olympics football kicks off in 198 days.
It's disappointing, you know, she had a sort of injured World Cup and now we're all looking forward and Australia's looking forward to the Olympics and it's sad news.
Teammates sent their love and support on social media from coach Tony Gustafson. With her ability to lead by example, Sam's guidance and influence on the team is significant and, as a result, this will be an incredible loss for the national team. But Football Australia insist there's hope of a miracle by July 25.
Really, she's got to be up and firing in May and June to be good for July. The time frame just ruled her out as far as I was concerned.
This is just absolutely devastating, but just another player, right, that's done their ACL.
From the anguish of the World Cup calf tear, we know Sam Kerr is superhuman.
Kerr! What a goal!
The tally's since grown to 99 goals in 128 games for Chelsea, but demands and pressure only grow on a sporting icon.
The beauty of being at Chelsea is that there's a game every 3 days.
She's 30 now, so hopefully we're thinking one more Olympics, one more World Cup, so we'll see how her body holds up.
Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Australian actors produced a gold rush at Hollywood's Golden Globes Film Awards today.
Elizabeth Debicki and Sarah Snook won personal acting awards, while Margot Robbie's Barbie took out 2 gongs, one for its performance at the box office.
Wearing an outfit inspired by superstar Barbie, Margot Robbie owning not just the look, but the title. Joining a lineup of Hollywood favourites for the first red carpet of the awards season. Glitz, glam, bold and themed. Oprah Winfrey in a nod to her movie The Colour Purple. But tonight's bombshell...
Oppenheimer! Barbie. Catch me!
The Barbenheimer Battle, starring Australia's leading lady, it won 2 gongs, including box office achievement.
It's about you. We made it for you and we made it with love, and thank you for loving it back.
But it was Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer that came out on top, 5 Globes. Winning Best Director, he shared a tribute to a late Australian legend.
The only time I've ever been on the stage before was accepting one of these on behalf of our dear friend Heath Ledger.
Melbourne's Elizabeth Debicki.
Happy to find you on the cover. I was like, we've got to go back because there's an Australian interview.
Nominated for her portrayal of Princess Diana in The Crown, a likeness that won her Best Supporting Role.
To my mum and my dad and Kush and Tommy, who are in Australia, hopefully in their pyjamas watching this.
Success for Succession, starring Adelaide's Sarah Snook.
This is your possibly your second Golden Globe tonight?
Yeah, possibly. Here we go.
One to bet on.
Sarah Snook!
It was a yes chef to The Bear for Best Comedy, Emma Stone Best Comedic Actress in Poor Things, Beef Best Limited TV Series.
One new category has pulled music's megastar. Taylor Swift Eras Tour is nominated, just as Australia plans to welcome the pop star down under.
Not the Singers' Night, but it was the screen stars who shone after months of disruptive strikes, bringing Hollywood back. In Beverly Hills, Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
Well done, ladies. Now, time to check the weather with Amber Laidler. Amber, we've seen some showers across the city today.
Angela, Michael, good evening. Yes, those falls have generally only been light, but they've been persistent. While we've seen up to 10 millimetres recorded across parts of Sydney, locally heavy rainfall has impacted the state's central west. Areas there have now recorded more than 100 millimetres over the past 24 hours. The system generating the unsettled conditions has been steadily tracking northeast throughout the day. Tonight, a warning for heavy rainfall is in place for parts of the northern rivers, with more than 40 millimetres recorded over the past hour at Murwillumbah. There is a chance we'll see more rainfall across parts of Sydney tonight and into tomorrow. We'll have more details coming up soon in your full forecast, Angela and Michael.
Thank you, Amber. Attackers and vandals are running riot on our rail lines, and police have had enough. Coming up, how these train offenders are making your trip home longer.
A bit of dispute at Australian ports gets uglier with threats of docked pay.
Tradies take aim at a woman who they claim didn't pay up.
Whales on the hunt, and they're putting on a show. Rare video of an Antarctic marvel.
And how parents can save big as back-to-school costs bite the budget.
Good to have your company this Monday night. Well, 2 motorbikes have been destroyed after fire broke out in a garage underneath an apartment block in Parramatta early this morning. Firefighters managed to extinguish the flames in 15 minutes, but by then the damage had been done. Several garbage bins nearby also melted. Investigators are working to determine if that blaze was deliberately lit.
Riding on the outside of Sydney trains is life-threatening, but unfortunately, it's booming. Now there's a major new crackdown with claims the practice is costing passengers big delays.
It's a dangerous and popular stunt, clinging onto a train as it reaches speeds of up to 100 kilometres per hour. And there's a trend of filming this to flaunt on social media.
Please do not let this be the last footage that your family sees of you.
In 2023, there were 171 buffer riders across Sydney's trains, up 72% compared with the year before. The most common lines were the T4 Illawarra and T2 Inner West.
We have seen Sydney's light rail network also targeted by buffer riding and roof riding.
Police will be out there targeting it under Operation Rampart. Keep an eye out for people that may be loitering at the end of the railway station or trying to enter the railway corridor.
They're also targeting antisocial behaviour like this assault on passengers at the Granville Concourse and this graffiti vandal at Edmondson Park, as well as a man caught spitting at a train crew in Eastwood.
Our staff are tired of having to deal with these incidents.
Nothing is more frustrating than a train that doesn't run on time, and the amount of people trespassing across the network is causing major delays. In fact, if you tallied up last year's numbers, it would equate to 24 days worth of delays. A dangerous gamble where all passengers lose. Amy Clements, 7 News.
It's already cost our economy more than $1 billion now. The dispute at our ports is getting uglier. Operator DP World says it'll dock a day's pay for any wharfies using work bans to slow down cargo.
No one appears to be acting in the interests of consumers and small businesses.
Maritime Union members have been carrying out action as they negotiate a pay deal. The dispute is affecting about 40% of imports and exports.
Australian parents are being warned to brace for higher back-to-school costs this summer. They'll set most back hundreds of dollars, but money experts say there are still big savings to be found.
Many families are still recovering from the Christmas crunch. They're now facing higher than ever back-to-school costs.
Cost is front of mind for parents.
School supplies expected to set parents back $1,200 per child.
It's going to be more expensive this year. We do see credit card and buy now, pay later spending skyrocket in January.
That's on everything from tech to school books.
Electronic devices are no surprise the biggest expense in every state and territory, followed by school uniforms, leaving parents more than $200 out of pocket. Sports gear, textbooks and stationery will set you back on average more than $100, followed by school bag essentials.
Then you have excursions and camps, and that's one that can really catch you by surprise.
The advice is to reuse any items possible from previous years, opt for budget-friendly brands when it comes to basics, and ask if your school has payment plans or financial hardship programs available.
They're not aware of all the programs and the availability of support out there.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
They laid the concrete only to tear it all up again in anger. Next, tradies see red as a dispute over pay turns nasty.
Fewer GPs are bulk billing and it's our hospitals feeling the heat.
An Aussie favourite falls victim to the cost of living crisis.
And ahead in sport, who replaces David Warner? Even teammates have no idea.
A P-plater is lucky to have escaped serious injury after crashing into a parked car in Sydney's west overnight. Well, as you saw there, the impact of the collision pushed the parked car onto the footpath and into the back of a ute. Police now investigating what caused the driver to lose control.
A Brisbane tradie has taken the ultimate revenge against a customer he says failed to pay. He and his team ripped up the concrete driveway they had just laid. But the homeowner has shot back saying she wasn't happy with their work.
This is what happens when you don't want to pay for works carried out at your place.
An extreme act of frustration. Jesse Crowe and his small team laid this concrete days early. Their final act, making sure their hard work would go to waste.
Should have paid. Now it's going to cost more to get it all dug up, taken away and poured again.
Jesse says he negotiated the $6,000 job with the homeowner. She paid $2,500 but wouldn't budge on the final amount after a dispute over the cost of rubbish removal.
You're in the trade for a long time and you're doing the right thing by people and they don't want to pay at the end of the day, so what do you got to do?
The homeowner says she was threatened after complaining about the quality of the job.
You're paying now, or we will smash the concrete.
You would have paid them?
Of course. But they refused to finish the job.
Well, as you can see, once the concrete has set, it has certainly left a real mess. The family say they do intend to repair it themselves. The incident happened late last year, but was posted online just days ago, dividing opinions, while both sides remain firm.
They did what they wanted, not what I wanted.
You just want to get paid.
A bitter battle with no winners. Steve Hart, 7 News.
The federal government is trying to stamp out abuse at children's sporting events. 294 incidents against minors were reported last year. In one case, a coach allegedly engaged in sexualised behaviour toward a 17-year-old. The government is spending $36 million to educate coaches and parents on how to act responsibly.
There's a storm brewing over the cost of a beer in Sydney tonight.
Thanks to the cost of living crisis and rapidly rising taxes, you can now expect to pay more for your favourite schooner.
A hard-earned thirst needs a big cold beer.
Forget hard-earned thirst. These days, if it's a schooner you're craving, you best be prepared to spend your hard-earned cash.
It's the cost of living, isn't it? It's just going through the roofs.
The unbelievable numbers are in, and it's certainly nothing to cheers about. The average price of Aussie crowd pleasers Carlton Draft and VB have gone up by over $1. Asahi and Hans Superdry managed to stay somewhat steady, while a schooner of Stone and Wood now sets you back almost $12.
Too much for me.
It's the tourist hotspots where prices are the hardest to swallow. At bars in Darling Harbour, the Rocks and Circular Quay, a search for a schooner under $10 could leave you feeling a little bitter.
You can't find anything cheaper than 10.
It's harder to balance in Sydney's suburbs, like here in Balmain, where publicans know charging any more than around $8 or $9 for your traditional beers like VB simply wouldn't pass the pub test.
It wouldn't go down very well, no.
We're just passing on what we're getting from all the suppliers. Their prices keep going up and unfortunately we have to try and put ours up.
But for some, no matter the price, a scooey is a bare necessity of life.
How much would a schooner have to be for you to give up drinking?
Probably more than $10.
Grace Fitzgibbon, 7 News.
Years and years of neglect, the scathing report card on Medicare. Next, Australians are paying a pretty penny to see a doctor, and it could force a healthcare overhaul.
A weight loss drug that's taken the world by storm, rejected by the PBS.
And soon in sport, rivals react as Rafa's sad injury rocks the Australian Open.
Weight loss drug Wegovy has been rejected for the pharmaceutical benefits scheme. It's considered a sister drug to Ozempic and has surged in popularity globally. The drug's producer argued a PBS listing would ease the burden obesity has on the health system, but their proposal was rejected, called overly simplistic and unreliable. Patients are coughing up more to see a GP as the number of clinics that bulk bill plummet. It's putting pressure on hospitals with growing calls for an urgent shake-up of our healthcare system.
Medicare started 4 decades ago and boasted a strong selling point.
The cheapest, simplest and fairest health insurance scheme Australia's ever had.
But today, many say it's outdated.
There's been years and years and years of neglect of the Medicare system.
The average out-of-pocket cost to see a GP has climbed to more than $41.
I don't go until I really have to because money's on my mind.
It just makes it so difficult.
The number of clinics bulk billing has dropped by 11% in the past year to fewer than 1 in 4 clinics.
Which in this case was largely driven by 514 GP clinics nationally switching from bulk billing to private billing.
Medicare rebates haven't changed despite inflation. They were frozen nearly a decade ago.
Everything has just really gone up, yet the rebate has not increased in any way.
The federal government has announced it would triple the incentive for doctors to bulk bill, particularly vulnerable groups.
Billions of dollars in new investments to try and turn this around.
But GPs are hopeful there will be a complete shake-up this year and that funding in May's budget will help. For the millions of Australians who can't afford healthcare, many have no option but to go to emergency departments, and that's putting more strain on public hospitals and frontline workers.
We need to take this as a dire warning of the future of healthcare in the country.
Angelique Opie, 7 News.
It was another lacklustre day for Australian shares following new jobs figures out of the US. They were stronger than expected and raised more concerns about how quickly central banks, including our Reserve Bank, will cut interest rates. The ASX 200 down 38 points. All 11 sectors took a hit. Material stocks among the worst performers. One standout, Cali Metals, was red hot on its ASX debut. The WA Lithium Explorers shares jumping 80%. The Aussie dollar dropped below 67 US cents. Gold, oil and iron ore prices all fell. And more evidence tonight that Australians are getting on board with rooftop solar panels. A record amount was sold in the last quarter of 2023, enough to generate 912 megawatts. Collectively, they provided almost 15% of our national energy needs in the past month.
It may appear to be a winter wonderland, but America's northeast is dealing with treacherous storm conditions. Up to 30 centimetres of snow has blanketed areas like Massachusetts, leaving 17 million at the mercy of winter storm warnings. It's also caused problems for travellers, with multiple crashes on icy roads and hundreds of flights cancelled. Air safety teams in the US have now found the door that blew out from an Alaska Airlines flight. 171 passengers were on board when it happened, leaving a gaping hole in the plane. The piece of fuselage has since been found in a person's backyard. At least 2 phones, believed to have fallen 16,000 feet, have also been found.
Incredible video has emerged of a road being set alight after an explosion at an LPG station in South Korea. It was triggered by a leak which sent a wall of gas creeping along the road. It's believed drivers mistook the gas for fog before it ignited. Remarkably, nobody was killed, but 5 people were injured, and there's significant damage to buildings and cars.
On the hunt in icy waters, but doing it all in style. Coming up, the Antarctic phenomenon that's almost never caught on camera. How these whales are blowing bubbles to score a feed. Don't miss that story shortly here on 7 News.
First, Matt's here with sport. And Matt, there's $1 million question in Australian cricket tonight.
I think we're all pretty keen for an answer on this one, and it is coming. Michael and Ange, good evening. What Ricky Ponting says normally goes, so we'll get his verdict on a new opener next. Also, Alex de Minaur arrives in Melbourne top 10 and without the great Nadal in his way. And with Sam Kerr's injury, desperate calls to fix the ACL crisis plaguing women's sport.
Tomorrow on Sunrise, the Princess Whisperer, the Sydney woman who helped transform the soon-to-be Queen Mary of Denmark.
Plus, what's the latest in the world of tech for 2024? We have a special report from Las Vegas on all the new weird and wacky gadgets set to make your life simpler.
See you in the morning.
Australian cricket's $1 million question may be answered tomorrow. Who replaces David Warner? From pub talk to dressing room chat, there's still no clear favourite. The only certainty, the new man starts under intense pressure in 9 days' time.
Time to relax for the Aussie Test team until the West Indies series starts next week. Until then, they're ready to be asked about nothing but David Warner's replacement.
Yeah, lots of questions, I guess, and some answers are going to come out pretty soon.
That could be tomorrow when the Test squad is named.
I'm not sure which way the Test squad will go and the selectors will go. There's some great candidates.
Those candidates: Cameron Bancroft, the leading Shield run scorer backed by Ricky Ponting; Marcus Harris, Warner's personal choice; Matt Renshaw and Cameron Green, the younger options; or the wild card, Steve Smith, pushed up the order.
He's done a pretty good job for Australia at number 4, so I wouldn't be changing it too soon.
Renshaw did himself no favours in the Big Bash last night.
Jordan goes through. Renshaw
out for 5. His unbeaten Heat booking a final spot with a last ball 1-run win against the Hurricanes.
6 in a row for the Brisbane Heat.
16 years after her debut, Elise Perry, sporting icon.
As Perry looks to go big, clears everything.
The first Australian woman to 300 internationals, always a match winner.
Elise Perry not out with the winning runs in her 300th match.
Lovely to get the win, Mel. Probably just doing my job in the end.
The Aussies levelling their 3-game T20 series at 1-1 with a 6-wicket win. James Manton, 7 News.
Ricky Ponting's thoughts on selection have great influence. The Aussie skipper is with Jason Richardson for tonight's Thunder Scorchers clash.
Big Bash action tonight at the Sydney Showground. Sydney Thunder versus Perth Scorchers. Ricky Ponting alongside me. Before we go there, Rick, a lot of conversation about Steve Smith at the top of the order at Test cricket. Do you think his game is capable of being an opener?
Well, I think he surprised us all last week when he put his hand up, because every other batsman in that lineup has said, no, I want nothing to do with it. I don't want to go up there. But he said he wants to do it. Look, his technique will stand up. We know that. He averages over 60 at number 3, so it's not that big a jump from the number 3 spot to opening. But I wouldn't like to see that happen, to be honest. I think breaking up Labuschagne, Smith, Head and Marsh at the moment will be a disaster for Australia. I think they've just got to pick who they think is their best opener right now, considering who they're playing in the next couple of years. I'm going for Cameron Bancroft. Pick him now. He's averaged over 50 in first-class cricket the last couple of years. Deserves a place at the top of the order for mine.
Are you concerned about the age, though?
Khawaja's played his best after 30. Mike Hussey played his best after 30. Simon Katich played his best after 30. I've got no worries with that at all. He's still relatively young as far as cricket age is concerned.
Should be a beauty tonight. Sydney Thunder host the defending champs, Perth Scorchers.
Thanks to Ricky and Richo. Rafa's out, Novak's vulnerable. Maybe the Demons' time has arrived. As Nadal's Australian farewell ended before really starting, Alex de Minaur hit Melbourne Park with his top 10 ranking and spring in his step today.
Fresh off squeezing into the top 10 for the first time, Alex de Minaur's signature is in hot demand.
A lot is belief, believing in myself, believing that I am good enough to beat these guys and proving it.
In 25 Grand Slam appearances, the Demon has only ever reached the quarterfinals once and admits he can't block out the critics, so instead he's embracing them.
I love proving people wrong. I mean, ultimately, I just want to get better each and every day, and you know, if anything, it's telling me all the things I've got to work on.
The task may have got just a little easier with Rafael Nadal withdrawing from the tournament following a muscle tear.
Obviously, extremely sad and disappointing that he's missing the Oz Open, especially the way he started in Brisbane.
Australian Open organisers insisting the 37-year-old isn't done with Melbourne just yet.
The pitch to me, to him, unfinished business in Melbourne. Your fans want to see you. We're expecting to see you.
On a gloomy Sydney Harbour, Alexander Zverev celebrated his United Cup win with teammate Angelique Kerr after beating Team Poland.
I'm happy to have a few days off, let's put it that way.
Grigor Dimitrov has his first title in 6 years after downing top seed Holger Rune in straight sets at the Brisbane International. Jaleesa Raps, 7 News.
A silver lining may come from Sam Kerr's devastating knee injury. As we showed earlier, Kerr expects to miss 12 months, including the Paris Olympics. She ruptured an ACL during Chelsea's training camp in Morocco. They're happening at least 6 times more to women than men.
There needs to be an investigation on why there is so many ACL injuries. I don't think women are afforded the opportunity, both from a quality, strength and conditioning point of view and the quantity as well, and I think that is a real key difference.
Matilda's great Heather Garriock says the foundations must change at elite junior level. Missing Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk, Liverpool pulled off an FA Cup heist. 2 late goals knocked out Arsenal in the third round, 2-0. After 5 months out with a hamstring injury, Kevin De Bruyne helped Manchester City thrash second-tier Huddersfield in a 5-0 rout. In their first session back after Christmas, Kevin Walters made the Broncos watch their grand final defeat for the first time. He'll also shift Selwyn Cobbo from the wing to the centres, replacing Dolphins recruit Herbie Farnworth.
He's sort of probably a bit more natural there in the centres than on the wing. We'll find out more when we start playing and he starts having to make tackles and do all those things that the great centres do.
The Broncos won't put curfews on their players for the Vegas season opener against the Roosters. That's a bit of a worry.
That's a bold move.
The main one is Sam Kerr, of course, and an outpouring for her today. Hope she's okay and pray for a miracle.
Yeah.
Doesn't look good though, does it?
Pray.
Yeah. All right, mate. Thank you.
Matty.
We have some incredible and quite beautiful pictures to show you now of whales creating unique patterns in the icy waters off Antarctica.
The behaviour itself isn't particularly rare, but capturing it on camera is.
Touring the ice-locked Antarctic, photographer Pete van den Bemd witnessed something spectacular and rarely seen so clearly. A perfect spiral made by whales.
From above you get those beautiful concentric circles, whereas if you're observing from the water, you might not see it.
This artful dance is actually a hunting technique, one of several in the humpback's arsenal. It's called bubble net feeding and works as the name suggests.
Their food is essentially driven into one area and then they'll come up from underneath and expand their throat and gobble up their prey from underneath.
The curious technique has caught the attention of marine researchers around the world.
As scientists, we don't exactly know how this behaviour has come about, but what we do know is potentially there might be some cultural transmission or teaching of others to do it.
Bubble netting has been documented closer to home on Sydney's south coast in 2020, but don't expect to see anything like that in the next few months, at least not until May when the Humpback Highway reopens and the northern migration begins. A true conservation success story.
The East Coast population can be as much as over 40,000 individuals, and that's a lot of whale watching to be done in the 2024 season.
Perhaps we'll witness something as wonderful as this. Tom Hartley, 7 News.
Just incredible pictures.
Beautiful.
Mesmerising. Amber is back now with the forecast. Amber, how long is this wet weather going to last?
Angela, showers are forecast to persist on and off throughout the week. All the details in your 7-day outlook coming up next.
Tonight's 7 News headlines: 9 tourists and a pilot have remarkably survived after a plane overshot a runway and flipped on a barrier reef island.
A woman has died after her home was set alight near Young. Her son is charged with murder.
A Botany man says he won't be intimidated after what appeared to be a bomb was placed outside his home.
And Sam Kerr's Olympics dream looks to be in tatters after she suffered an ACL injury.
Now, here's Amber with Sydney's weather. Amber.
Thank you, Michael. We have got more cloudy skies on the way tomorrow, though it is set to remain warm right throughout the week. In the city today, it reached a top of 27 degrees. Right now, it's still warm, sitting at around 25. Temperatures across the Sydney Basin today generally hovered in the mid to high 20s, slightly warmer along parts of the coast compared to the west, reaching 29 today at Gosford and also at Cronulla. If we take a look now at the satellite image, this inland low has been generating those widespread showers across New South Wales and Victoria today. That low is forecast to track offshore tonight as that trough continues to shift northeast, but that warning for heavy rainfall remains in place across the northern rivers tonight. More widespread showers are forecast across New South Wales throughout this week, though. Some eastern parts of the state could record more than 100 millimetres by Thursday. But around the capitals tomorrow, showers are forecast in Brisbane, tops of 30 degrees, showers and possibly a storm in Canberra. Conditions starting to ease in Melbourne, 25 the top under partly cloudy skies. Warm but windy over in Perth with a top of 31 degrees with storms possible tomorrow in Darwin. Statewide tomorrow, aside from the far southwest, we are expecting more scattered showers and some storm activity to develop across much of New South Wales, though totals are for now looking much lighter than today, reaching 28 degrees at Port Macquarie tomorrow, 27 at Newcastle, 29 is the top at Wagga, with 29 degrees also forecast across parts of Sydney's west. There's a high chance of a shower or two, most likely during the afternoon at this stage, tops of 27 degrees tomorrow at Manly. On the water tomorrow, winds will run north to northwesterly at first, reaching up to 25 knots offshore early before shifting southerly, eventually tending southeasterly during the afternoon. We do have strong wind warnings in place further north for the waters of Port Macquarie and also off Newcastle. But back in the city tomorrow, those cloudy skies and possibly a few showers persist, only light, though 27 degrees is the forecast top, with a chance we could also see some storms developing, but that's most likely across the west into Wednesday. Midweek should bring a brief reprieve from the wet weather for areas near the coast before those showers return on Thursday, persisting right until the weekend, but we should enjoy a few dry breaks in between all of that wet weather. Michael and Angela.
OK, so not as bad as it looks. Thank you, Amber. That is 7 News for this Monday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening.
Sunrise starts from 5:30 tomorrow. From all the 7 News team, thanks so much for your company. Have a great night.
Good night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.